Okay, so let's jump into the main issues. So how do we feel right now, security-wise in Judea and Samaria? I think the notion in the last 4 months is the fact, and like everybody's waiting for something to happen. You're like we're on the fences, like literally waiting. Something will happen. The only question is going to be when and where. Just like 3 weeks ago, and I'm actually going to prepare a video about it soon. There was an attempt that in our mind was playing as like that's what's going to happen in the community of Adora. It's south of Hebron. Friday night, classic time. Three terrorists, they were young, came to the fence of the community with like a very strong whatever cutter, cut the fence, enters. In their bag, they have Molotov bottles. They have an M16 disattached. They have knives. They have an axe. Now, I've been to the in the spot where they came from. They made it. Thank God, they made a huge mistake. This community is really surrounded from different situations. They decided to come from a very low point of the community. They had to really climb a mountain. And as they begin to climb the mountain, there was a barbed wire there, and they got stuck. Now, in the midst of the situation, they forgot the cutter in the fence. So at this point, they're trying to release themselves from this barbed wire. I'm saying it as a bad thing. Thank God, right? So they stuck there. The security guard with a car of the community just drives around, and he sees this like hole in the fence, and he sees them. They shoot at him. I have photos, and I'm gonna put it in the video. All his car, boom, 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 shoots everywhere, and and nothing happened to him, like minor injury. And of course, all the friends came and from the security team, the first responders, and killed him. So what I'm trying to say is the fact that because of that, because of this notion, all of us are really prepared. We're like people are guarding the communities. People are very alert to a possibility of an attack, and that's something that's going to surround us now. I want to say forever, because what happened in October 7th, and soon we're going to hear a guest speaker that actually fought in Gaza for more than 100 days. What happened then was the realization that um, we cannot fall asleep again. Let's put it this way. What happened then was us getting used, or maybe almost getting addicted to quiet, and they played it well. They like allowed us to be quiet, relax. It's all relaxed now, till the point they took advantage of us, falling asleep almost, and attacking. So we need to be ready and prepared at all time. And all our communities now are training, are focused in being prepared. All of us, if there were people without weapons, all of us got weapons, including yours truly. Now, many people went for a gun. I went for a rifle. So it's on like upstairs, but I have a rifle now. I'm traveling around with a real M16. As I'm trained in the army, I was a soldier as well. And if anything is going to happen, a small pistol is not going to be helpful. So you want ammunition, and it's on me all the time. Like I look like a soldier all the time, and people ask me, is it not hard to carry it all over the place? Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, it's not comfortable, but we need it. The realization that we actually need it just in case. So with that, I would say that's our situation. We're alert, we're ready, we're prepared, we're trained. And right now, what happened in the south border won't happen, because we understood that we need to be ready enough, even if the army is not going to be around. We need to be ready and prepared, just in case. I hope it answered. So if it's a question that we started with, I want to start to share something that somebody's unmuted. If you can mute everybody. I wanted to share, and it's actually connected to the Super Bowl. funny enough. So I'm an Israeli. I don't get Super Bowl. I don't get football. I'm sorry to say, I watched it. I tried to learn it. I didn't get it. Like, I really didn't, including the fact that I went to a game. Kim, remember the game I went? It was in Dallas. I had seats on the floor, literally the best seats possible. It was amazing, but I didn't get it. And but when there's the Super Bowl, I just want to see the results, the recap, maybe the commercials. So this Sunday night, woke up because we don't sleep so well, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, to open to see the results of the game. And if you watch the game, you probably had the same experience because just an hour before the end of the game, we got the news that two hostages were released. So I woke up to see the results of the Super Bowl, and I read about the fact that two hostages were released. And I can tell you, since the 7th of October, we wake up in the morning, starting the day, devastating news. Every morning starts with another message that said we're sad to inform that, and a name of a soldier or two or 21 that died. Monday morning, the first time since the beginning of the war, we woke up actually for good news. And the good news was that really two hostages were released in an heroic operation that if you watch Fauda on Netflix, you only can imagine what does it mean to go silent inside Rafah when there's no soldiers around in a special vehicle, a unit's called 5501. It's a special secret unit. Now, people know it already, but there are special cars. And you can only imagine what does it mean a special car? Maybe a car that's maybe extra quiet, maybe a car that can drive on different directions. You can imagine. Anyway, this car goes into Rafah. Special units, SWAT units come from above the building, were able to release the two hostages. According to what the reporters say, immediately when they entered the room, they jumped on the hostages just in case that the terrorist would think, okay, we're going to be caught, so at least let's shoot them. The last thing is going to be shoot the hostages. So they protected them and they were able to take them out secured. A small minor detail that tells everything. Reporters say that in the night when the two hostages arrived to Tel Chagay hospital in a chopper, one of them had a very interesting shoes. Because apparently when he was taken away, he was carried to the car. They didn't know his medical situation. One of the fighters, the warriors, noticed he didn't wear shoes. And it was cold and muddy. So he took out his own shoes. The fighter, the soldier, he took his shoes, gave it to the released hostage, and when he arrived to the hospital in Tel Aviv, realizing he's wearing the shoes, he also realized that the soldier continued to fight that night in Rafah, Gaza, without his shoes. These are the level of people that were able to do such an operation. So why was it such a great news? Of course, two people are released. It's the world. But I think because we don't have so much time, maybe we're going to have a bit of time in the end because our guest is already here, Chagay Meir. And I think that more than anything, the notion we had at that moment is the realization that you hear a lot of talking about an agreement, about let's release their prisoners, about let's give them this, let's give up, let's fold, let's stop. This operation taught us there is a possibility to release with good intelligence, with good operation, with good decisions, with good pressure. It's not going to be easy. And to be honest, yesterday we had two soldiers that died, and this morning again, three more soldiers died. The operations are hard. It's difficult. People are dying in the process. But the understanding we don't need to fold, and the pressure needs to be on the Hamas to understand these hostages. We are on the way. And the voices that talk about let's release them now, with agreements, with more prisoners out, these voices, although I understand them, they're human. People want to release their family members. I think they are not something in our merit. It's something that lacks the understanding that we need to put them in a pressure, the Hamas in a pressure that they understand that we are going to take over as soon as possible all our hostages. And we pray for that, and we hope for that, and we hope only for good news. So I'm going to stop my segment today, and it's going to be a short segment, and I'm going to give the floor to a friend. So Chagay, you can unmute yourself, and I want to present to you today Chagay Meir. Chagay Meir is actually a friend from Tzufim. They live a couple of houses next to me. He's also the mayor of Mevo Dota, which is a community in the northern part of Samaria. And also is a family man. And he's going to tell you more about his family and about himself. And he found himself being called to Gaza on the 7th of October. Shalom, Chagay.
Shalom. It's nice to see you all and meet you all.
Chagay, thank you so much for coming and joining and sharing with us. It's 9:15. You came back a couple of weeks ago, maybe. So maybe start off by sharing who you are, what's your story, a little bit about your family.
So first, I'm honored to be here. I'm not a special person, not an elite officer or anything like this. I'm a family member, a family man who lives here in Tzofim, very close to Shmuel. And before the 7th of October, I can't even say that I was a reserve soldier because I was released already from the reserve due to my age. I'm 45 years old. Just a couple of years ago, I was released, and I live as a normal person, just like anyone else that you know, in a small village, trying to take care of my family. We have me and my wife. We have 7 kids, 5 of them biological and 2 in foster care. 2 sisters that we took over 2 years ago and joined our family. And you know, having 7 kids and living, it's a struggle by its own, but it's a nice struggle to have a family. Our kids are already grown up. I have my oldest son is a soldier in the army, and my daughter is also a soldier. She's studying to be a doctor. She studies medicine. A part of our army service. She's studying to be a doctor, so she can serve as a doctor in the army. It's a program of 11 years. We're very proud of them. And I work as a CEO, as a mayor of a town, as Shmuel said, in North Shomron. Trying to make a living, trying to take care of day-to-day issues, education, facilities, everything we need to have in order to live here in this historical areas, but actually living a normal life. And on the 7th of October, I find myself, it's a festive. I don't usually carry my phone on me. In the synagogue, we understood that something's happening. I rushed home. I picked up my phone. My first worry was to see that everything's okay with my family. And, you know, as I said, 2 of my kids were not home. They were on their army service. My daughter was on officer course at the time, and my son was in the army. And to check my workplace, to see that everyone's okay in the village in Mevo Dota, to see that we're prepared. We didn't know. We assumed that they're going to attack the villages inside Israel also, and we needed to be prepared. We need to see that we have everything we need. It's a thought that crossed our mind, and even though I don't usually on a Sabbath, I don't speak on the phone. Of course, we called everyone to see that everyone's okay and that we're fully prepared.
So you said that you are not in the reserve and you were released. I know the tendency in Israel is to release you when you're 40 or you have a couple of kids, maybe 5, 6, 7. It's already a big family. So they release you, and thank God there are many young soldiers and they're going to take your task. So how did you find yourself in Gaza? You're not in the reserve. You're not a
On the
soldier.
on
Please.
the night of the 7th of October, on maybe it was the 8th already, my officer called and says there's a shortage of medics. I'm a medic, and if I can rejoin, of course, I didn't even call to consult my wife. Immediately said yes, and then I called my wife, and of course she also understood it's great times, it's important times. We need to join. We need to do what's needed. You drop everything. You drop your role, you drop your family, you drop everything. We ran to the army base. I'm on the way. I picked up some of my son's spare uniform that he has at home, and some of my brother-in-law's uniform and shoes and everything to make sure that I have what I can take with me. And I ran to the army base, and in less than 3 hours, I was a soldier. From a normal person, a family person, a father, a son. You drop everything and you turn into a soldier, and that's what happened. Um, we didn't even have time to practice or anything. The first thing, we just ran to the border of Gaza to make sure that the situation is steady. By the time we arrived on the border of Gaza, already the elite units and the units that were on faster call already took hold of most of the places. And we had some missions. Some of them are very, very tough emotionally to pick up and find and see what, and collect the bodies both of the terrorists and some of the victims, and to help stabilize the border. Again, I'm a simple soldier doing the simple roles. We did what's needed to be done.
So, so you arrive to the Gaza border and you begin to, you said, collect bodies, and and I'm sure the beginning is shocking. You don't know the people around you or you know them. There are different gaps, ages, there are younger people, family people. So go and try to picture for us the story, the situation after the first step. You come, you're in on the border, and now you're being called and you're being asked, we're going into Gaza. You already know how difficult it is, and you know you hear the news that people are dying. What's the feeling like? How are you coping with this? Maybe share what the others felt as well. You, the forces around you. What was the feeling like?
It's strong and deep feelings, and it's mixed feelings. On Monday, I think it was the 9th of October, I was informed that my best friend, he's a doctor in the military, was killed in Sderot when he jumped to help, and he served as a soldier, as a doctor and a soldier. I had no time to deal with it emotionally or anything like that. We felt on a mission. I was pretty much the oldest one in my unit. I think I was the oldest one in my unit. I had soldiers that were 1 year or 2 years older than my kids serving with me, 23, 24-year-olds. That actually the majority of the soldiers were with these ages. And what I felt is a great sense of mission. We speak in high words, but you feel it when you're there. After a week, when we were there, a week and a half, or The times get mixed up. We went into Gaza. We went in with a deep feeling of mission. We felt we were another chain, another role in the chain of historical times. We felt we're continuing the Maccabees and the partisans and the people who are fighting to protect the Jewish people throughout the ages. It's our time. We need to do what's needed to be done. It's not easy. It's really tough conditions. We had tough weather, both very hot weather and very cold and wet weather. We were unfamiliar, some of us unfamiliar with each other. As I said, I left the army. Some of the soldiers were very new. We had to reunite, re-meet everyone and get together. But there was a deep feeling of mission, deep feeling of that we're actually making history. There was sadness, as I said. We had friends who got killed, both before, in the beginning of the war, and in the 7th of October and everything, and also during the war. We've lost a couple of friends in our unit, but our heads were in the mission. We understood that we are here protecting not only ourselves, not only our families. We're protecting the Jewish people, the Western world, and we're protecting not only one generation. We're looking generations ahead. Because of my special family situation, I was allowed to bring in my cell phone into Gaza, and once a day I would speak with my wife and kids. And there were very tough times, very tough times. And I was speaking to my wife, sometimes thinking I'm a volunteer. I could give it up. I could go back home. And I asked my wife, and my wife also said, we're not doing it for ourselves. We're not even doing it for ourselves, our children. We're doing it for future generations. We're doing it for the entire world, for the entire Jewish nation. And that was the feeling that we had. And it makes it easier in many senses. It's how we live there.
Chagay, I have a question for you. One of the things that I keep seeing on the news that I'd like you to maybe address, because you've been there, is the accusation against Israel is that, they're baby killers and that we're killing thousands upon thousands. I mean, I don't even know what the last number that was put out of how many children have been killed in Gaza. My sense and my feeling is, how reliable are those numbers? Because can we trust the people that are giving us those numbers, that are saying what the death toll is happening in Gaza? I mean, that's number one. And number two is, why are their children in a war front anyway? Like, Israel told them to leave and they didn't. So just could you address maybe what the how reliable is that source of this numbers coming out of Gaza?
Okay, I'll start by apologizing and saying I'm a very simple soldier. I'm not an officer. I'm not there. But I can tell you what I saw. First, I want to tell you the saying about the Israeli army, that it's the most moral army in the world. I don't know to tell you. I've served only in the Israeli army, but definitely we are not aiming, not seeking to kill or massacre anyone. We're aiming at people who are killing us. And even though we came with great pain into Gaza, I'm telling you, I've seen what happened in some of the Ishuvim, some of the villages around Gaza. It's great pain. We didn't come to revenge. It's not the goal of the army. It's not what we're talking about. It's not how It's not how we work. Where I served in northern Gaza, we barely met civilians. We only met civilians on 2 occasions. On those 2 occasions, what we did is to ask them in Arabic to go south. On 1 occasion, they willingly went south. We just made sure that they don't run away or anything like that. We followed them with from the air with a drone. On the second occasion, they wouldn't go south. So one of my officers just shot in the air, fired in the air. He scared them. It was very, very scary. But then they went south. There was a discussion between the soldiers if he acted correctly. We don't shoot at children, not toward children or anything like that. But it was his decision at the time. Of course, he didn't aim to hit them or anything like that, or not even near them. But he made them go south. And by that, I think he saved their lives, because if they would stay there, they could definitely get hurt. We met in Gaza pure evil. We went into houses where what we saw there, I can't even explain. We saw on walls pictures of because we didn't have our mobile phone with them, I couldn't take pictures. But I know they've been sending them around pictures of Israeli children being killed on the walls in children's rooms. I've taken out a school diary from one of the houses what we found, and my young daughter translated it with Google Translate, and we saw that they have one of the goals of the education is to how did they use the terms? They say to clean Palestine from Jews, to purify Palestine from Jews, and that's in a 6-year-old girl's room in her diary. We met pure evil, and to think that some of our soldiers are meeting civilians in these situations, it's a moral dilemmas that I can't even imagine. We haven't met with them. The people we've met had guns in their hands, had grenades in their hand, and RPGs in their hands. We had no dilemmas. We shot to kill. But I know that some of my friends coming out had deep dilemmas, and it's deep moral dilemmas that you need to deal with.
I want to continue this line of thought and maybe talk about, so after all the process and after what you went there, so maybe tell us how long you've been there, and maybe share a little bit about how is it to come back home after such a long while? How does it feel in the family? And maybe after that, we're going to talk about how does it feel in your community, because you are the CEO, the mayor of a community in Samaria. That's the topic we're always talking about, and that's what we started today about our feelings. Maybe after you're going to talk about you and your family, talk about how is the community handling the situation and what are the gaps.
Okay, so as I said, I was called up on the first week of the war, and I was in the army for 105 days altogether. Most of the time, over 70 days inside the Gaza Strip. We had on us only things that we could carry. So we had this bag, whatever you can put inside, that's what you have. We got every few days, every couple of days, we got food inside, dry food, nothing cooked or anything like that. And this is how we managed. We didn't feel sorry for ourselves. We don't feel sorry for ourselves. This This is war, and as I said, we felt deep mission, deep sense of connection to what we do. But for my family and for my kids, it's hard to grasp, especially for our two younger girls. One is the age of 3 and one is the age of 5. Some of them with Shmuel's kids in kindergarten. And for them, it was hard to grasp how the father, they left the house before and suddenly the father disappears and goes to war. Of course, we were in touch. We tried to video conference nearly every day, but it was hard for them to grasp it. Every time we came on short leaves, every time to 24, 48 hours, a couple of times. Every time going back to the army was very, very tough, both for me and for them. And we were there. We were at war. The first few weeks were a bit quiet, but after that, we fought. We met with terrorists nearly on a daily basis. I think in the last 3 weeks, it was a daily basis. We met terrorists. We were shot at. We shot back. We got injured. Some of my friends got injured. Some of them got killed, and we killed, thank God, many terrorists. I think over 65 altogether from my platoon. And coming out of Gaza, our officer they take us all into this place where they talk with us. And our officer told us, listen, we've asked you to be very fierce. We asked you to be very powerful. We asked you to be very strong and like machines inside. And now I'm asking you the hardest question is now you're going back out, and I'm asking you to be righteous again. We're asking you to be righteous again. We're asking you to be soft again. We're asking you to be loving again, loving people. And he mentioned David. King David was able to be, on one hand, very, a warrior and to manage to be on a battlefield, but on the other hand, it was very gentle and loving, and we need to and he told us, and we understand that we need to build these qualities in ourselves, and coming out, we need to be loving again. We come out, we take a couple of days off. I'm just continuing. I can speak about the war for hours. Whoever wants, you can call. I can talk about it however long you want me to. But I understand that we're in a short time here. But we come out, we take a couple of days, especially for the family. We need to reunite. We need to rebuild everything again with the kids. My youngest, one of my younger daughters, I promised her a bunny when we came back, so I bought her a bunny. And, you start building the house around everything. And only a couple of days later, you go back to work, and imagine a municipality without a CEO that just leaves from one day to the next. There's big gaps, and everything needs to be redealt with. You need to understand the municipality itself is also in war, because 80 out of 135 families, 80 families had soldiers on reserve that went into war. The community had to take care of the families. Some of the families needed support. The wife stays home with 5 to 7, 3, 4 kids, sometimes babies got born during the war. The community needs to stay together, need to hold each other together. It's very deep, very tough situations, and the community needed to do it without the CEO, without the person who pays the checks, without the person who manages the budget. I had really little time to deal with anything there. Really, really little time with handing over to the volunteers that took over for me. But we managed. We created our own unit in the Yishuv, in the village. That one of the basic learning from the 7th of October is that the villages need to be strong. Villages who had strong units inside, of volunteers inside, the villages, managed to push away or stay strong with the terrorists. Villages who didn't have it got massacred. That's pretty much how it was. I also went there yesterday to study, and we saw it in our eyes. Villages with the what we call kitat konenut, the immediate
First
reaction.
response team. The first
response team had the equipment, were prepared, were trained, managed to save lives. And the places that they weren't prepared and they didn't have the right equipment and they didn't have the right training, paid in life. So what we are doing is preparing our first response team. We're trying to fundraise. We're trying to do what we can to make sure they have the equipment they need, that they have the training they need, that the families get the support, because you need to understand, even those
Chagay, I'm stopping you. Give me an example of a specific need Mevo Dota has now. You're back. You saw the situation. Give me an example. What's needed
For
now?
example, a drone. For example, we're trying to get a drone to the Yishuv Mevo Dota, a thermal drone that could see. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was an attempt of a terrorist attack on one of the Yishuvim in the eastern part of Israel, with a drone that was lifted a minute too after it managed to understand where the terrorists are. They were managed to kill the terrorists without anyone getting hurt. We understand that this drone will save lives. We're actually having volunteers from the Yishuv who are having the training on a drone now, but we don't have the drone. The drone like this costs pretty much like 50,000 shekels. It's not the funds that we have on a day-to-day basis in Israel, in our Yishuv, and we're fundraising for that. Even torches for the weapons. It's something that sounds very simple. They have it in elite units. They have it in some of the units in the army. Our soldiers don't have it. It costs 800 shekels for one. We have 30 soldiers. We're trying to fundraise for that. We're trying to make sure that the soldiers who are there day to day. We're doing whatever we can. This way we fundraise from people inside the Yishuv to make sure that they're, to do a barbecue for them, to make sure to show our support, to show how much we appreciate their work, because their work is great. It's tough, and it's hard to keep your head and mind and set of mind. And we need them there. We need them. We truly need them.
I'm going to break in real quick. Roughly a drone generally costs about $15,000. And I don't know if everybody understands, but one of the things that we learned from October 7th is that what was one of the key pieces that allowed October 7th to happen. And that was they had cameras. The cameras were watching the border, watching what was going on in Gaza, but the terrorists knew where the cameras were. And that was the first thing they did, is they went in and they took out those stationary cameras, which totally took out communication and the visual of what was happening. So when they cut the fence and they left Gaza, the army couldn't see what was going on because the cameras were down. So with what became very apparent since then, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that with the drones, they are mobile. So they're not a stationary, camera that can be taken out. They can be shot down, I suppose, but if the drone driver is flying them around. And also with the thermal cameras, we've got video footage from that from a number of years ago, where basically it can see in night vision. So it can be pitch black outside, but they can see the heat signatures and the terrorists trying to infiltrate into a community. So that's just to kind of give you guys an idea of why these drones and why is this such a critical new piece of equipment in all of our security projects. Pretty much most of our security projects, drones are number one on the list, and this is why.
Exactly.
And I wanna share something else which is mind-blowing. So, Chagay, I think we spoke about it as well. On October 7th, this attack happened. Immediately, as you said in the beginning, everybody thought Judea and Samaria are going next. And we know we are surrounded by them. It's so easy. We live in a community that we have literally surrounded communities around us. You just come with like axes. It's gonna be a battle. And immediately communities began, I would say, even in a panic, but it's a rightful panic, called us to CFOIC. We need help, we need help. And we fundraised, we brought support, and we gave drones, and we got it. But after 3 months, we've realized that maybe 10, 20, 30 communities out of Judea and Samaria, there was nobody to run the community, to the extent that only 100 days later, somebody gave us a call and said, we were dealing, we were busy, we couldn't do anything. We were on top of everything. And yet there were so many communities that all their mayors and the helper of the mayor and the helper of the helper and all the guys basically in the management were out. And nobody had the time to even consider, what do we do in our community? So only after 100 days, I began to receive phone calls, people saying to me, so we heard from our friends that you were able to do this or that or the other. And that's mind-blowing. So I can promise you, Chagay, that you need a drone. We're going to do everything possible. We have really, you see the people around you, they are like the most amazing people that care about Israel and support Israel, and they care for CFOIC and our people. And I'm sure we will be able to get the support at no time. I want to release you in 2 minutes, and I just want to ask you one thing. People asking here questions, and I think more than anything, and you said you're a simple soldier. We know you're simple. Maybe give us the prediction of where do you think it goes? Maybe something you heard, maybe something you understand. Knowing what happened in Gaza, being there with your friends, with your fellow soldiers, where are we going to go with that?
Or where should we go? Where?
So,
Because where we're gonna go, who knows? But what would be the smart thing to do with Gaza? Like what's the solution to Gaza?
so I'm not attempting to be a specialist or anything like this, but I can tell you what I felt. We're not going to go out of this war the same. The state of Israel, I think even the Western world would understand that there needs to be a change. There's evil in the world. It didn't end on the Holocaust. It didn't end. It exists. We need to fight evil, and at the same time stay righteous. It's a tough mission. The people of Israel are capable of it. My friend that died on the second day of the war, Itan, was both a strong soldier and a doctor that helped everyone. And this is a dilemma, I think, of the world in 2024. How we fight evil and staying righteous. We need to get the hostages out because this is what's right. We need to do everything in our power to get them out. We need to rebuild the face of the people with humanity, with the state, with the army. We need to rebuild, and I believe I'm a believer. I'm a religious person. I believe God stands behind all of this, and there's a reason that all this happened, and hopefully we'll come out stronger from all of this. Now at a certain time, I don't know exactly to tell you how it's going to happen, but I see strong communities. I see strong army. I see the youngsters who fought with me, very, very strong. Even the less educated ones that you sometimes see in the army, they're very strong in their beliefs, very strong in the sense of mission, sense of understanding. and with all the hurt and with all the pain and all the bad that we've seen, we are hopeful people. Our anthem is Hatikva, the hope, and we're hopeful, and we're staying hopeful, and with the support of the world. I wanted to say that we are thankful for everything you donate, but our friendship means much more than the money and the funds. And we really hope to see you very soon here in Israel, to see you here in our communities, both in Tzofim and in the Shomron, in Mevo Dota, and anyone who wants to come and visit, we'll be happy to see you. And we understand that we're not fighting only for the Jewish people. We're not only fighting for the Western world. We're fighting for future generations and for what's right in the world.
Yeah, I want to finish and say this, and I think that's, for me, when I hear you, I tend to forget that in the world outside of Israel, they have, we have civilians, and there are people that went to the army. They're soldiers, so they're being drafted. That's their job, and they're going and they're fighting, and they can be deported to Afghanistan and Iraq for a year, for 2 years. You have people living in those countries for years. And I think what, we tend to forget, we did not sign for this. We are civilians in a country that there is a mandatory draft for 3 years, and you finish this 3 years, all of us, we were doing our 3 years, and you say, okay, I did my part. But then you realize it's not over yet. And you're being called in the situations, you have work, you have responsibility, you have your family. And as you said in the beginning, everything is left behind. You don't ask questions, you just go. You didn't ask your wife, which is a great thing we need to learn from. That's always true. And you're just going, and you're not asking questions, and you're fighting, and you're doing it. And I wrote down a quote from you: for the future generations. It is not a question about the here and now. It's important. It's there. But in our mind and in your mind, the question is about the future and about the next generation and our children and our children's children. And you said it very nicely. We are only a piece in that chain, and we are being asked, and we do what we need to do now, and we don't ask questions about yesterday and about tomorrow. That's our job right now, and that's what we do. So in the name of all of us, Chagay, I really want to thank you for joining us and sharing your story. And I think that's a very a true story. It's a genuine story. It's not something you see on YouTube with like dramatic music. It's the real deal. Somebody that left his family behind and fought for his nation. So thank you so much, Chagay. I really appreciate it.
Thank you all very much. Thank you all, and thank you for what you do.
And I want to say this: we will do everything possible that in a few days you're going to receive an email that says you have the drone you need. It's not even a day, it's a matter of hours, I believe. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So friends, yeah, thank you, Chagay. We heard Chagay, and I think his words really talk to me. That's something that we're trying to convey. That's a message. These are simple people, and they left everything, and it's hundreds of them and thousands of them from every family. And now, to wrap things up and going back to where we started, it's this war is ongoing, and it's been already long enough to almost forget how it started. I don't know about you, but when he talked about October 7th, and I'm like, yes, it's a while ago, right? So many tears and so much horrific stories and so many casualties, to the extent that we tend to forget what happened there. So just a small reminder: on October 7th, we were attacked in the most horrific scenario since the Holocaust. And what the people of Israel are dealing with from then until now is trying to recoup. And it's a difficult task. The pain is huge, and it's something that we're going on through, and this is a trauma that I don't know how many years will pass to do that. But it's important to know that just like Chagay was called and he acted, we have a role to play here. And I'm really talking about each and every one of us. We have a role. We've been called as well. The fact that you are here now, the fact that you support Israel, you care, you get the updates, you support all of this, that's your draft call. Kim, you want to say something, I feel.
I guess there were a couple of questions that I really wanted you to answer, just because very briefly. One was, what, how do soldiers deal with this trauma? Like, does the Army have counselors? Do they have psychologists? I mean, obviously, you and Chagay have your faith, but in general, how are people dealing with the trauma?
So every soldier that is being released from the Army, from the service now, has a week of psychologists and with all the troops. They're not released. So let's say you're being released, so you're going out of Gaza, you go to like a base or an hotel or somewhere, and where there's a psychologist and there's a therapist, and there's a conversation, and somebody like they need
They have
to
it.
talk
They give them
through
some debrief and give them some tools to deal with
for
it.
a week. For a week. And now remember, these are civilians. They want to go back to the army to work. So they're being paid just like a day of army. Just talk about it. Process. It's pain above everything people can imagine. So there's a week of that. They go back home. They get another week off just to relax and get your things together. And only then they return to their life. Does it work? Does it help? Does it, kill the pain? No, no. We collected bodies in the beginning. Nobody needs to do that, right? So that's the answer. Trying their best. It's a process, and I hope it helps something, it cares something.
For sure. Well, we can definitely be praying for him. Absolutely. And then the other question, just briefly, because it got asked, I mean, I could probably answer it, but our lovely US president has put sanctions on a grand total of 4 Israeli citizens who have been accused. What I like to say on this whole situation is, whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? And when does the US become Israeli law? Like we're the judge, jury, and executioner here. It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. And I feel that we as Americans, those of us that are Americans, need to stand up and need to say something and say, this is not right. It's not our place and it's not our business.
So first of all, of course, it's absurd, but let's look at this on a different angle from 2 perspectives. So number one, the way I see it, and a friend of mine, I have a good friend. Is an insider in the State Department. I'm not gonna mention his name, but he's a good friend of mine, and he works in the State Department. Let's put it this way, not connected to Israel at all. Okay, a completely different section, but he knows things. And he said it very simple. He told me, Shmuel, if President Biden receives now phone calls from the countries in the world that are against Israel, and he's being asked one thing: why are you condemning only the Hamas? So right now, President Biden can say, no, I'm condemning both sides. You see, there's the Hamas and there's the violent settlers. Of course, it's a joke. Why? Number one, to compare between the 2 aspects, it's madness. And number 2, which is actually a strong point in our merit, after all the New York Times publications, all the CNN, all the conversations, how many people were asked to be punished? 4 people. That means that the nonsense they were talking about for months about this violence, it's all big fake news, as your former and next president is going to say. It's fake news because it's just, if you find 4 of them. Now, to add on that, the Great Britain already also blamed 4 people. In just a couple of hours, you're going to see it in the news later. France caught another bunch of settlers. It's an absurd, it's a lie, and it's fake. It comes from the deepest notion that we need to be, hard with everybody. In reality, there's nothing, no violent, nothing whatsoever. And in the official counting, you count injured Palestinians. If they were injured by soldiers, they're still being counted as violent from settlers. So nonsense altogether. No, thank you. Next.
Well, thank you, Shmuel. That was kind of my take on it. It's crazy, but yeah, I guess from a political standpoint, we're on both sides. I don't know. Do you feel that the numbers that are coming out of Gaza of the death rates and the death tolls are exaggerated?
Listen, first of all, we know it's their business, right? To have those fake numbers. I love those videos. All of you saw that there's like a video of like those sheets above bodies, like on the floor, and then somebody moves. It's like like this is their job, right? This is their day job. Hollywood, the Palestinians, Hollywood. That's number one. Number two, are there many casualties? Surely there are. If they're not being moved away from where they need to be, and even if they move, but they're being targeted because there's an UNRWA shelter of terrorists under them. Yes, people are going to be injured, killed, and more than that, we know for a fact Hamas is using his own people as human shelters. So yes, there are many, many casualties, and it's sad, and we don't want to have that. It's important to note when we hear people that died for no reason, although I'm not going into we just mentioned you that in their houses you have Hamas propaganda, education. I don't think they're innocent, but if they weren't, part of it and they get injured, I'm not happy. But this place brought evil to the world, brought darkness to the world, and they're supporting it. So, with all the sadness to say, really, with all the ability to protect them from not being killed, their people need to blame their government as they're doing. They understand they brought pain for them, and I really don't feel bad on that. I don't think we did something wrong.
Could I ask a question? The drone, was it needed for Sofim? For
Mevo
Mevo
Dota.
Dota. Mevo Dota. It's a community, Mevo, Mevodotan. And it's up north. It's really in one of those northern Samaria is really isolated, like Zufim and Karne Shamron, and the center, it's pretty, they've got some friendly neighbors, not Arab, but Jewish communities. There's clusters of Jewish communities. Mevo Dota is one of those ones that's
Mevo Dota, you will check it on the map. It's near the worst city, Jenin. And they're like really nearby. And it's as Kim said, how do we know it's not the northern border, the north part of Samaria? So it's somebody wrote the border. It's not the border. It's like 30 minutes away from here up north. It's not north. It's just next to Afula, next to Jenin, not far from Caldera. Right. So those places, if you remember, when Gush Katif, when the Gaza Strip was evacuated in 2005, they were also evacuating 3 communities up in the Samaria area. That's the area. It's so isolated. It was Ganim, Kadim, Sanul. Mevo Dota is one of the communities. So check out on the map. It's not far from here. And he's the mayor. Chagay is the mayor there. Okay, I think we already took over more than an hour of your time. So I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you guys for coming, and we will see you next month.